Hello everybody, Trevor here. You've all seen my top 5 worst episodes in the new model era. And now, get ready to hear my top 10 best ones of that time period. Why top 10? Well, there are actually plenty of hit era episodes that I happen to like, and there are some that I don't want to leave out at all. Like the previous top 5 video, I will also include an episode from season 12 since it is the final season of the model series, despite being partially CGI. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. Number 10. Any episode starring Emily. As I said in my top 5 Steam Team members video, Emily is, in my opinion, the most overhated character in the entire series. If you don't like her, that's fine, but for me, she deserved more love than what she actually got. In the new model series, there are plenty of Emily episodes that I happen to like, including Emily's Adventure, Emily's New Route, Thomas Emily and the Snowplow, and Emily's Rubbish. I decided to include all of these Emily episodes into one spot because I actually had a very hard time deciding which one of these episodes is the best. So overall, I enjoyed them all. That's one thing I like about the new model series, is that they expanded on Emily's character more, and unlike Nia and Rebecca in Big World Big Adventures, they actually had the guts to give her flaws. For instance, they made her bossy in some episodes such as Thomas Emily and the Snowplow, and they also made her a little prideful in other episodes like Excellent Emily. And eventually, they gave her a spot at Tima's Sheds and Calling All Engines, which in my opinion was definitely worth it. The number 9 spot goes to Molly's Special Special. Molly is one of the most criminally underrated characters in the entire series. She deserved more love and recognition than what she got. Molly's Special Special is one of my favorite episodes in Season 9 because of her character. She's friendly but also sensitive and can easily be upset when something bad happens to her. And I can relate because I'm pretty sensitive too sometimes, especially when someone hurts my feelings. The story itself was great too. Thomas tries his very best to make Molly happy and really important. And furthermore, I believe she deserves to be part of the Steam Team instead of being replaced by a rip-off character because unlike Rebecca, she's original and has flaws. Number 8. Flower Power. Again, another Season 9 episode that I happen to like, and don't worry guys, they're not all going to be from Season 9. Diesel is a pretty good antagonist in this one where he teases Thomas about being scared. I especially like the part where Michael Brandon uses his Diesel impression to make spooky sounds, which gets me all excited and scared at the same time. I also thought it was pretty funny that Thomas covered himself with flour like a ghost just to teach Diesel a lesson. But Thomas knows that he needs to get the job done, so he takes the whole train all the way to the bakery, and on the way, he passes by the places where he was spooked, one of them being Henry's forest, which wasn't really scary at all. In other words, it was just his imagination. Not only that this was a good episode, but one of the best spooky episodes in the entire series. Number 7. Thomas and the Birthday Mail. This is Rosie's first appearance in the TV series, and I like this episode because of her. I do like the fact that she seems to have a crush on Thomas, which annoys him greatly. But Rosie wants to follow him because she wanted to help. Thomas thought he didn't need any help because all he wanted to do was to get away from her. But when Thomas got caught in an avalanche, he decided to let Rosie help take the birthday mail to Alice. Overall, this was a fun episode, and it's one of the best episodes of Season 10. Number 6. A Smooth Ride. This is actually the best episode of Season 10, in my personal opinion. Thomas and the Birthday Mail was great too because of Rosie, but what makes this one the best in the entire season was the fact that they brought back Sir Handel in large-scale model form. Honestly, when I first saw this on television back in the 2000s, I was like, long time no see, Sir Handel. This episode also explains Sir Handel's absence from the previous seasons such as seasons 5 to 7. You see, Sir Handel was back from the stone quarry where he bumped trucks, but he had one big problem. Every time he goes up a hill pulling a train, he suddenly stops, and has to rely on his friends to push him along the track. Later, it was explained that Sir Handel only shudders and shakes when he goes uphill, so Mr. Percival decides to phone for help to get him repaired. And thankfully, the problem was fixed in the end, and Sir Handel will no longer have to deal with his dilemma. Overall, this was a great episode, and I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10 stars. Number 5. Heave Ho Thomas. When it comes to Season 12, this is my favorite episode mainly because of the character Hank. I mean, he's such a likable character, and there's a lot of potential to bring him back with a voice actor. Imagine John Goodman or some other American actor doing the voice of him. Wouldn't that be nice? However, there are two gripes that I have with this episode. One is the fact that Michael Brennan didn't give him a deep voice. Sure, his southern accent is decent, but it could have sounded better if it was deepened to make him sound big and strong like Gordon. But oh well. Another gripe would have to be that this is Hank's one and only appearance in the entire series, which is very disappointing. But like Flora and Colin, Hank has a lot of potential to be in the series if Entertainment collaborated on their characters, but unfortunately, they didn't. Number 4. Respect for Gordon. When it comes to Gordon episodes, this would have to be my favorite one in the entire era, and I have to agree with the Unlucky Tug on this particular one because not only it's well executed in terms of story, but it was able to fill up the runtime without any necessary padding, unlike most episodes in seasons 8 to 12. In this episode, Gordon's firebox was making a funny clunking sound, and the other engines decided to tease him about it, which upsets Gordon, even in the next day. Oh, and not to mention that Gordon's crash into the jam tankers was pretty cool. I even felt bad for Gordon throughout the episode because all he wanted was respect, but the other engines didn't do that until the very end. And the story's message is that you need to earn respect instead of demanding it, which is a pretty nice message. Number 3 is a tie of 3. James Goes Too Far, Keeping Up with James, and James the Second Best. I actually enjoyed all 3 of these episodes because James is my third favorite member of the STEAM team. See what I did there? Let's start off with James Goes Too Far. What I like about Season 8 is that the drivers have speaking roles in that season, even though it was only for brief moments. But oh well. In this episode, James learns that going too far with his pridefulness is a bad thing and that his friends are more important than himself. Now let's talk about Keeping Up with James. I thought this was a really fun episode. It was fun seeing James slipping and sliding along the icy tracks all the way to Maithwaite Station. James thought it was fun at first, but soon got his comeuppance that sliding along the ice can be extremely dangerous. And finally, we have James the Second Best. In this episode, James is upset because Edward was chosen to be part of the railway poster, so he tries to follow his ways, only to accidentally ruin the poster, which I thought was pretty funny. But the sad thing is, this is one of the many episodes that was never released on home media, at least in the US, and that's pretty disappointing because I thought this episode was really entertaining. Overall, James is such an interesting character, and I'm glad they are still using him to this day. And these 3 James episodes are my favorites of this era. Number 2, Hector the Horde. This is, in my opinion, the best episode of Season 11. Hector's a pretty good character. I love his intimidating roar when he shouts out, "Keep away!" Not to mention that Michael Brennan does a pretty good job with that. No offense to Michelangelos. I've also added Hector in my top 5 Rolling Stock characters as the number 5 candidate. And I've even said in that particular video that I do feel bad for him when it comes to new and scary things. It just goes to show you that trucks aren't always bad guys. They can be good guys too. But sadly, he only appeared in 2 episodes. First in this episode, the other in James Works It Out. This is why I feel bad for characters who only appeared either once, twice, or a few times in a row because they all deserve recognition than what they've got. And they also deserve to have a voice actor in my book. Before I get to my number one pick, here are many honorable mentions. It's good to be Gordon. First of all, it got beat out by respect for Gordon. Second of all, Henry doesn't need Special Cole anymore, which is one of the many things I don't like about the hit era. Any episode starring Duncan. There are some I do like, such as Duncan in the Old Mine and Duncan in the Hot Air Balloon, but the reasons they didn't make it on this list is because Duncan acted pretty out of character in some of these adventures, such as Duncan drops a clanger. Like, they made him act young and silly like Skarloey and Rheneas, instead of his usual grumpy persona. Also, when was he ever interested in the sound of a bell? The Party Surprise. It got beat out by Heave-Ho Thomas, although I do think Cullen deserves a comeback because he's such an interesting character. Oh, and did you know that he was going to return in King of the Railway, only to be cut out? Yeah, that just goes to show you that the truth can be very sad at times. Fearless Freddy. It was alright. Not as good as some of the other narrow gauge episodes, but it's interesting enough. Freddy is a decent character, though I do find it confusing that he doesn't know who Skarloey and Rheneas were, yet he knows who Sir Handel and Peter Sam were. Didn't he used to work on the Mid-Sorrow Railway along with them? Mighty Mac. As much as I still love this episode, mainly because of the new character Mighty Mac, but I decided not to include it because, for one thing, I don't want to repeat my thoughts on the double fairly from one of the previous videos. And secondly, I don't want to put too many Season 9 episodes on this list, even though I still consider it one of the best episodes of Season 9. Thomas and the New Engine. It would have been number 9 because Edward was a little bit out of character in one scene. But still, I like Neville and the episode's message about the dangers of spreading rumors, even though it wasn't the first to do that. And the number 1 best episode of the new model era is The Magic Lamp. I don't know about you guys, but I love this episode mainly because of the one-off character Proteus. A while ago, I've been dreaming of a fan series that mainly focuses on both Lady and Proteus working on the Magic Railroad. Imagine it being a dual-gauge railway where Lady runs the standard gauge lines while Proteus runs the narrow gauge ones. Wouldn't that be interesting? But enough about that, let's get into the story. Skarloey tells the other engines, including Thomas, the story about Proteus and his magic lamp. Peter Sam doesn't believe in that sort of story and decides to carry on with his job to fix the incline at nighttime. But on the way, Peter Sam gets lost and couldn't find his way to the incline. He also wanted to find Proteus's magic lamp, but only to find a few false alarms such as a campfire for the children's campground. Later, Peter Sam finds Harold the helicopter and asks him to find his way to the incline. In the end, Peter Sam learns that you don't have to see the magic lamp for wishes to come true. Maybe it's enough just to believe in. And I think that's an interesting message because I believe it has something to do with religion where you can't always see to believe. But wouldn't it be awesome if Proteus were actually real on Sodor? And that's another thing. A YouTube user named EE93 used the Proteus character as an important plot device in his series called Enterprising Engines. That just goes to show you that even fans like him can do a much better job at storytelling than Mattel could ever even hope to. Overall, The Magic Lamp is the best episode not only in Season 9, but also in the entire hit era. And Proteus himself has a lot of story potential too, at least in my opinion. Well, there you have it, my top 10 favorite Thomas episodes in the hit era. I hope you've enjoyed it, and let me know which one of these hit era episodes are your favorite, or do you have your own personal preference? And if there's anything I've missed or could have elaborated more on, which I'm sure there is, please let me know in the comments section below, because I want to improve. I want to be one of the best Thomas fans on YouTube. Oh, and let me know what top video should I do next. This is Trevor Davis, signing off.